welcome to another show. It's Speakers on Edge. We're doing 15 minutes of fame, where we have voices of vision sharing messages that matter. And today, my guest is Dr. Audrey. Dr. Audrey, who are you?
Well, thank you for asking. I'm a licensed psychologist in California. I have a private practice, and I published a book on grief called Grieving Wholeheartedly, which happened because my dad died on me 7 years ago this July, and that was a complete shock to our family because he was the most athletic man or person that I've ever known. And so for him to die out of a heart attack completely upended my life. I actually closed my private practice for what ended up being 6 weeks, and all my clients kind of scattered for good reason because I couldn't tell them when I was able to come back to work, and lost income, obviously, because I had to be there for my mom who was grieving the loss of her soulmate. And for the first time in my life, I encountered grief and how discombobulating it is. And long story short, I found an internal family systems therapy that was very helpful in helping me grieve. And so as I grieved the unexpected loss of my dad, I decided that I'm going to share the same knowledge and pack it in a book, and here it is, available for your consumption.
Grief happens to everybody. I was talking to somebody earlier today who's a financial advisor, and they said there's two things that are guaranteed in life: death and taxes.
I don't think you can cheat grief. And may I also say though, Jake, that even if you haven't lost someone as like me, I had to bury my dad, right? But even if you didn't lose someone to death, I could be a divorce. It could be, you thought you met the love of your life, and then maybe you got engaged. Maybe you haven't gotten engaged, but the person kind of left, and you're left, questioning, was I wrong? Or I'm here in Southern California, and earlier this year, there was huge freaky fire that basically wiped out a lot of homes. And so again, I just want to say, you don't have to grieve just because you buried someone. It could be a house, it could be a job, it could be a dream that died, and you were left again holding the bag thinking, wow, I never thought I will need to deal with grief and losses. And I think we live in a society where we are really grief phobic. Maybe 1 week, maybe 2 weeks is okay, but then longer than that, people start thinking, sometimes they vocalize it like, oh, you're still not over that yet? Like we're doing something wrong if we're not like over it in like a month or whatever. And so grief is a tricky subject. To be honest, I'd rather come on here and talk about, hey, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? Let's compare notes. That's fun, let's laugh over that. But
I have to interrupt. Orange choc chip.
I should try that. I should try that one of these days. Yeah.
It's from my childhood. Orange with chocolate chips.
Yes. Well, I have, because I'm a psychologist, I have tenderness in my heart for childhood, because a lot of the issues that we're dealing as adults, they found their origin in our past, in our childhood. So I find myself really, really wanting to help people with emotional pain, because, if you have a headache, if you have a stomach ache, it's okay to see a physical doctor, medical doctor, right? But if your heart is broken, because in my case, my dad died totally unexpected, or again, if an engagement falls through, or you lost your house, or your dream job or whatnot, and you're thinking of, well, should I see a doctor, like a psychologist like me? Then immediately there's a voice of stigma saying, oh, come on, you can't get over that on your own. How weak are you? And then the messaging becomes, no, you have to like grit yourself and then pull yourself up by your bootstraps and all that. And that's really unfortunate, I think, because our heartbreak is just as valid as a stomach ache to see help, especially because, like in my case, I had to, contract with an IFS therapist who helped me through my grief. And partly because I'm a psychologist, I felt like that's fine, that's pretty normal. But I'm really hoping that this idea that emotional pain is just as valid as physical pain is starting to gain traction in our world, so that people wouldn't hesitate seeking the help that they need if they're facing some kind of emotional pain.
What you're saying here is something that I've been I've been observing for many years because I've been doing counselling and therapy work, especially in the grief area. Yeah, I've actually seen a lot of people who have been grieving in my life. It's been part of the journey that I've been on. And yeah, there's a stigma at seeing therapists. People are afraid that they're going to be judged. And in some cities and some countries, they are judged.
Yeah.
The culture judges them terribly for getting therapeutic advice.
Yeah. And yet, if I may, behind the judgmental voices, usually there's another reason why these people could be so critical in vocalizing their criticisms about, both people like me who work in mental health professions and as well as people that need my services. And I would just be curious if I don't know if your audience falls somewhere in between. I do need emotional help, or maybe there are some in your audience that tend to be the critic of people that need emotional help. But those that tend to be critical, I would just kind of invite those people to kind of be quiet and be curious. Why am I supposed to be this critical? So what if people want to see a therapist? Why does that threaten me? What is it to me? Why can't I just be supportive of people in my family or my friend group or coworkers who say, yeah, I did see a psychologist because so and so happened, and then I just felt like I needed the extra support. Why can't I provide that support? Why do I have to be so critical? So just kind of be curious about that and ask yourself. And I'm just wondering what the answers could be.
So what's a session like for you for the client? What could they expect by coming and actually talking with you?
I would definitely find out why are you here, right? And then when they say, "Oh, it's because I'm just like making up a story now, because I lost my home, in a fire." Okay, and I need support over that. So I'm gonna definitely say, yeah. But in my experience, which is why I write from the internal family systems therapy standpoint, there are different parts to our soul, which does not make us pathological. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you have parts that you have dissociative identity disorder, or it used to be known as multiple personality disorder. Now it's dissociative identity disorder. I would like to think of it more like the Inside Out movie from Pixar that came out some years ago, and then the sequel came in summer of 2024. And it's the idea that whether it's anger or sadness or jealousy or longing, all those are different parts to your soul. And that's perfectly fine. It's perfectly normal. So back to my hypothetical client who comes in because, let's say, her house burned down. I probably would explain, hey, you don't have to be surprised if in the course of our work together, you hear contradictory voices inside. Again, it doesn't make you crazy. It just means you have parts because you're a human being. So a part might say, yeah, all my heirloom was in that house, and now I don't have anything else connecting me with my ancestors. So that's very sad, right? And then there's a part that is shocked and doesn't really know where to go. I don't know if I'm going to rent next, if I'm going to rebuild. But there could be actually a part that is secretly relieved because the fact that my house burned down means I don't have to pay mortgage anymore. And so I am providing space for all of my clients' parts so they can speak and they can talk to my clients without fear of judgment or being repressed and put away. Because again, we as human beings, we like happy, positive, cheerful things. But when it comes to sad and, depressing and loneliness or longing, it's harder for us to deal with that. But my job is to really listen to all these different parts and what they have to offer and help my clients to actually be curious and compassionate toward the parts of them that speak on those notes as well.
So if somebody's watching us today and they're feeling, and they realize, I actually need to do something, but I'm not in LA. I'm in another country, another city, because this show goes worldwide. Where do they go? What could they do first to help themselves?
I would recommend going to the IFS Institute website. they have a directory. I'm pretty sure it's global. It's not just the US, it's not just Europe, it's around the world. And they can type in, wherever their address is, at least country and city and country, and see if there's a nearby IFS practitioner or therapist that could help them. The reason I really talk about IFS, Jake, is because it is so effective. I used to practice another modality, and it was more hit and miss. But the moment I found out about internal family systems, it changed my life personally. It changed my client's life, and that's why I would first recommend them to go to Internal Family Systems Institute website online.
What was something about their system, their modality, that was so outstanding for you?
It's the fact that we are not relegated to one person inside. I mean, you're just seeing Dr. Audrey, just one of me, and there's only one of me. But inside of me, there are different parts of me, kind of like the different voices that I explained before. And so if you, another fictitious client, just had a breakup, and came in for extra support over that. So obviously, as a therapist, I'm going to be listening to the part that feels anguish and sorrow and angry. And if the angry part of this client is getting into like a verbal match with a part that feels really abandoned, I know how to support both parts so that both parts feel listened and heard, as opposed to just kind of focusing on one, or saying, oh, you're just being resistant right now, and that's why you don't want to go deep. It may not be resistance. It may be there's a part of this person that is so super angry that their fiance cheated on their best friend. Totally making this up. Does that make sense? So with IFS, there's a liberty of saying, okay, there's a part of you that feels angry, but another part is feeling abandoned, yet another part is feeling, I'm so worthless that my own fiance would cheat on me with my best friend. So it's this liberty of, oh, there's a part that feels this, a part that feels that, and I as myself can help all of my parts feel supported and loved, that I'm not judging them for their feelings. I'm here to help them heal.
What you actually reminded me of was a line in the movie Shrek. We are onions.
Yeah.
And there's multiple layers. And some layers are going to make you cry. Some layers are a bit crunchy. Some are a little bit soft. But we have layers to us. And where you talk about these voices and the different types of these things that we're saying, and that they're not, just because we have, I'll say, an argument going within us, it doesn't mean we have dissociated identity disorder. That's or that we're schizophrenic or bipolar or any other, insert whatever label you want here.
That's right. Now,
it means
those
that we've got a brain
real.
that processes.
Right. Now, those labels that you mentioned are real, and some people do merit the diagnosis of schizophrenia. But again, just because you listen to internal voices does not make you schizophrenic. That's right.
And what we're saying today, I have to say, is not medical advice. We have to use the disclosure, of course. It's always tricky when we have a medical professional on the show talking about different disorders and so on, because we're not allowed. We're not here diagnosing anybody. We are just discussing.
Yes. But I think
if there was one piece, sorry.
I just want to say, I think you and I both, though, we are together in wanting to support people that are in legitimate emotional pain, right? And so if they feel the pain, here we are saying no stigma here. If you feel emotional pain, go seek the support that you need. You're not going to find us criticizing you.
And that I was actually going to ask you for the greatest piece of advice that you could give somebody watching. And you answered my question before I asked it.
I have eager and impatient parts. I'm so sorry for that.
No. That's you being intuitive and understanding what's best for people. And that's what I feel like you're here doing, is you're here to do the best for people, to help them get through the most difficult stages of their lives. And like you say, it's not just about the loss of a loved one. It can be the job, the house, the pet, the situation, the lifestyle, the relationship, the list goes on.
Right. The list does go on. So if your loss doesn't fit in any of the examples we've brought up, doesn't mean that your loss isn't valid. If you're feeling the pain, it is valid, and go seek the help, and please don't give up.
Dr. Audrey, where can people find you?
Well, I have a website. It's aimforbreakthrough.com, F-O-R, so not the number, but spell it, aim, F-O-R, breakthrough.com. I'm on Instagram, Dr. Audrey D, Facebook, Dr. Audrey D, or you can join me on Substack, also Dr. Audrey D.
Fantastic. And we will also have you on our website. There'll be your photo and a button linking to your website on speakersonedge.com. That's it for our 15 minutes of fame. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.